Howdy gamers, let's talk about the runes for Kayn Jungle. He's kind of an awkward champion as he has two forms, and then whether he transforms into the red form or the blue form really changes how he wants to use his runes. So there is different situations in which, depending on your team comp, you could switch into both forms and it'd be completely fine. And then there's situations in which, depending on the enemy team comp or your team comp, then you're basically guaranteed one form. So if you're guaranteed red form, I think your best bet is Conquer. With Conqueror, whenever you gain Conqueror stacks by basic attacking the enemy or casting a spell that deals damage to them. Once fully stacked, you heal for 15% of the damage that you deal. So with red form, Conqueror is obviously going to be better as it gives you access to AD for being on top of the enemy champion. And with Kayn, since your abilities are basically never on a cooldown, it's pretty consistent that you can hit them on the enemy. And since they're AoE, you can also gain pretty multiplicative values out of the healing from Conqueror, because if you're hitting multiple champions with an ability, then you're dealing more damage and then therefore healing more through Conqueror. The AD built up from it is okay. It's good. If you're going for skirmishes early too, which you kind of have to do with Kayn to build up the form, then it's also going to make things, might not make them lethal for the enemy, but puts them more in your favor. And that's really what you're looking to do with Kayn early. And then having the scaling factor becomes really, really strong for him. That being said, if you do transform into blue form with Conqueror, it's going to be doing like nothing. So you really, really do need to know if you are going to go red form or can go red form, and you would identify that by seeing multiple melee champions that you can actually hit in the early game, and then depending on your team comp, if the red form would just be more valuable. So for the secondary runes, since you're in the precision tree, you're going to get Triumph, Tenacity, and then Last Stand. There's really no variation if you're going red form. With Triumph, you're going to get 12% of your missing health restored on a kill or assist, and then an additional 20 gold, which is kind of just like icing on the cake. But then that also has pretty good synergy with red form, as you're healing off the damage you dealt from your abilities, and then also you're going to be healing if you get a kill or assist. You can also get a kill or assist while you're inside someone, so if you're really low, and then you go inside someone, and then you come out, Jesus. And then anyways, when you come out, if you got a kill or assist, then you could be at a healthier amount in combination with the healing that you're going to get from Conqueror and from just ulting someone. Really gross combination. With Legend Tenacity, it's just to help you stay on someone. A lot of your basic build path is going to be Warrior, Black Cleaver, Merc Treads, and then maybe GA or Spirit Visage. But with Merc Treads plus Legend Tenacity, it's going to make it very, very lame for the enemy to try to deal with Red Kayn, as if you're on top of someone, their only counterplay is really CC, and if they pick champions like Leona, Nautilus, Zac, Ornn, etc., and if you have Merc Treads and Legend Tenacity, then the enemy, you're really just negating a lot of what the enemy is like bringing to the table, and it's really, really strong. You don't lose out on like almost anything from not running the lifesteal or attack speed from these runes, as Kayn is so dependent on his abilities. So with Legend Tenacity, you're basically buying yourself position in team fights with it. For the fourth rune, you could choose to have 8% more damage to targets below 40% health, or with Last Stand, you deal 5 to 11% increased damage to champions while you're below 60% health, and then the max damage is gained at 30%. So a lot of what Red Kayn is trying to do is play around with his HP pool, and with Last Stand, it's going to be giving you more damage while you're doing so. So it's incredibly synergistic with what he's trying to achieve. For the secondary runes, your good options is Sudden Impact and Relentless Hunter, or Sudden Impact and Ravenous Hunter. Usually I'm against Ravenous Hunter, as it's kind of overrated on most champions, but with Red Kayn, since basically all you're doing is spamming your WQ and ult, then you can get pretty good values out of Ravenous Hunter. Especially at lower MMRs, it's really easy to stack this up as well. With Ravenous Hunter or any of the runes in this row, they're based off Bounty Hunter stacks, and with Bounty Hunter stacks, you build them up per unique takedown. So you kill the top laner one, the jungler it's one, the mid laner it's one, etc. And it's so easy to build that up for a jungler that it's pretty realistic that you can have at least 2 of these bounty hunter stacks, therefore giving you 5 plus 1.5 percentage healing on your abilities cast, which is really, really strong. With Sudden Impact, after you exit stealth, use a dash, leap, blink, teleport. So basically every time you use your Q, E, or Flash, then you're going to be proccing Sudden Impact, and then it grants you 7 lethality and then 6 magic penetration. And it's only on a 4-second cooldown, so Even in really extended fights, you can proc this twice, and then you just therefore have more damage than you otherwise would have. Sudden Impact really functions as like a minor keystone in terms of the damage that it offers, especially for a champion like Kane that can always be casting his abilities. To outweigh these two for Red Kane is pretty hard in my eyes. Like the only other runes that would be kind of useful for him would be Nimbus Cloak and Gathering Storm, but even that doesn't really cut it, as Kane has lots of ways to stay on the enemy, so he doesn't need Nimbus Cloak. And then with Gathering Storm, I don't see the like plus 14 AD for Red Kane outweighing the extra healing or the damage offered from Sudden Impact. So there's a lot of synergy with how Red Kane's going to build with these runes. And then for the shards, it's going to be AD, AD, and then armor. AD just giving you more damage on the abilities. I'm not sure if he needs the attack speed for like certain clear paths or whatnot, but I would think that since it's mostly just reliant on his Q cooldown for clearing, then the AD would be completely fine. So that's that for Red Kane. For Blue Kane, it switches entirely. As with Red Kane, a lot of what you're doing is sticking on targets and getting multiple rotations of your Q and W off. With Blue Kane, it's really about instantly killing the targets that you get onto. The more common rune that I see is Electrocute, and I don't think you actually need this. Electrocute, whenever you hit an enemy champion with 3 separate attacks or abilities, you deal bonus adaptive damage, and then this is on a 25-second cooldown. But Electrocute can only be procced on one enemy, and that's really the shortcoming of it. With this, especially as a jungler, a lot of what you're going to be doing is 2v2ing and then team fighting. So especially with Kayn, you're not 1v1ing the enemy jungler with Electrocute. It's probably not happening. There might be situations, but like it's not generally happening across thousands of games. So I think if you're guaranteed to go Blue Kayn, then Dark Harvest is going to be your best bet. Dark Harvest can be procced on every single enemy champion, especially in a team fight, especially when they're all clumped up, which is like your ideal scenario. A W into Q ult, that's a GG right there. And then with Dark Harvest, damaging a champion below 50% health deals adaptive damage and harvests their souls, permanently increasing Dark Harvest damage by 5. Dark Harvest damage is based off your level, the souls that you acquire, and then for Kayn, the bonus AD. And then it's on a 45-second cooldown. But with that, if you are damaging multiple targets at once, then it doesn't really go on cooldown. So if you gank one lane and then we go to the next, it would be on cooldown, but you don't really have to worry about that with Kayn, as you're basically permanently farming and then showing up for ganks. With Dark Harvest too, you don't have to kill the enemy champion in a gank for it to be valuable. You don't even have to get them very low to get a Dark Harvest stack early. And the more you stack up Dark Harvest, just simply the more damage it's dealing. And that can make things really, really oppressive. And it can also make your weaker early game, it just helps you scale basically. It helps you scale through the weaker early game if you're getting the Dark Harvest stacks, and then come mid to late game, makes you even stronger. It's really synergistic with like how the kit like wants to function. And then for the second rune, it's still going to be Sudden Impact, as it's giving you more damage. And then for the third rune here, you could choose between, you're basically choosing how you build up the bonus AD offered by it. So with Zombie Ward, you're choosing to build it up through clearing wards, which Kayn doesn't really want to do. And then with Ghost Portal, you build it up through placing wards, which Kayn really doesn't want to do. And then with Eyeball Collection, you earn the bonus attack damage through getting kills or assist, which is probably your best bet, especially if you're playing Blue Kayn. With this, it also gives you access to attack damage that you otherwise wouldn't have. So it has pretty high synergy with almost any assassin champion. And then if you're playing Blue Kayn, I don't think you need the healing from Ravenous Hunter, as a lot of what you're doing is just trying to one-shot the enemy champion. So I think you're going to get better value out of a Relentless Hunter. Relentless Hunter is going to help you reset onto the map, move from one lane to the next, and then also flank a lot faster, because that's a lot of what you need to be doing late game, is getting behind the enemy at unexpected timings and then surprising them and getting on them. So Relentless Hunter helps you do that. With Relentless Hunter, you gain out of combat movement speed, and then per bounty stack you get more of that. So once it's fully stacked up, you effectively have Mobies for free. It's really, really effective. And then for the secondary runes, I suppose you could get value out of Sorcery for Blue Kayn with either Absolute Focus, Gathering Storm. In combination, would both give you a lot of AD. You could also go Nimbus Cloak, as it would give you the extra movement speed. So you would use a full rotation on someone ult, and then as you're exiting them from the ult, then you could blue smite to try to run away. But I don't think that's really necessary. You also gain a lot of utility early game from Nimbus Cloak, especially if you're in bad positions, but it's kind of like a band-aid at that point. I think your better options are probably in the precision tree with either Triumph and Coup de Grace. Coup de Grace giving you 8% more damage to champions who are below 40% health. So, like with Sorcery, you really need like this bonus AD to be outweighing the damage that you would be dealing with Coup de Grace. So that's a really hard trade-off to beat. And then with Coup de Grace, you have Triumph, which Triumph's going to restore your HP whenever you get a kill or assist. So that makes you slipperier in team fights and makes things just easier for you. You could also run Legend Tenacity on Blue Kayn. Building Merc Treads would be fine, especially against certain team comps. But in general, Triumph's probably going to be better for you. And then again, Coup de Grace is just access to damage that you otherwise like can't have. And I don't see the extra AD from Gathering Storm and Absolute Focus really outweighing it. As with Blue Kayn, you probably, or like usually you do just overkill champions anyways. So that's that. So that's if you know you're going Blue Kayn. So in situations in which you don't know if you're going red or Blue Kayn, depending on the team comps, I think your best bet is to go Electrocute. Because if you don't know, and if it's really out of your control, then you kind of have to adapt to that. And then with that, I think that with Electrocute, if you don't know, then you might as well go into Sorcery. And then with Sorcery, again, I think your better option is Nimbus Cloak and then Gathering Storm. Because if you don't know, I mean, at least you get a little bit of everything with this. If you end up in Blue Kayn, then the Electrocute's still going to be okay. You do miss out on the damage onto all targets with Dark Harvest, but it's going to be alright. You get a little bit of AD from Gathering Storm, and then with Nimbus Cloak you gain the movement speed utility. And then if you don't know if you're going red or blue, I think you might as well go Relentless Hunter, as it's going to help you take the enemy's jungle camps, and then also just position for ganks a little bit faster. So I'm kind of iffy on all of this for if you don't know, because it's just weird. But yeah, that's the runes for Kayn. There's really no good variations. If you were to go something like Resolve, you'd really just be super misplaced, as you'd be missing out on so much damage from either Coup de Grace or Last Stand. And then, like even let's say if you're going Precision with Resolve, you'd be missing out on so much of the healing and damage from Sudden Impact and Ravenous Hunter that the extra stats you could get from maybe like Conditioning and Overgrowth just wouldn't even come close, especially with like how Kayn's kit plays out. It plays out as like an overhealing bruiser or something, kind of like an Aatrox. Aatrox doesn't use this shit either for the same reason. Champions that just get like multiple armor and magic resist items and then also stack health obviously make way better use out of these runes. So they're balanced around that too. And then something like Free Boots and Cosmic Insight, like it'd be okay, but you don't even come close to outweighing Sudden Impact and then Ravenous Hunter. So that's the runes for Kayn. If this video helped you, leaving a like on the video helps me. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I answer literally all of them. If I missed something, I don't know everything about Kayn, like I said, but if I missed something and you know something I don't about Kayn, let me know. And if you're interested in watching me play or talk about League of Legends, you can check out my Twitch, twitch.tv/SorryNelson. I'll see you there, man. Kayn, he's the best jungler for beginners, actually. Kind of coming up. So yeah, bye bye.